Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. Going one episode and one season at a time. We are now on episode 21 of season 8. This is The Model. This is written by Leslie Cavanagh. And I'm going to be honest, out of all the episodes that are written by people who are not in the usual writer's room or have only written a handful, this is definitely one of my least favorite ones. When I first got the season 8 DVD and was watching episodes I didn't watch first run, this one included, this was always one that I didn't really like watching unless I was watching the whole season. Like if I was just putting the DVD in to watch select episodes, I would skip it. And having watched it, this episode's going to stay on the skip list because it just doesn't do anything for me. And all honesty, if you look at sitcom seasons in a vacuum and look at them and go, okay, which ones are like necessary to the whole season and which ones seem to add a lot more to the whole show, if you were to look at Raymond through that lens, this is one where like it doesn't add anything to the whole show, doesn't add anything to the whole season. And to be honest, this would fit an earlier season episode more with its premise, and the fact that it took them this long to do one kind of strikes me that they early on didn't think that an episode like this had a lot of comedic weight, or they're just running a little bit out of ideas and decided to do this one just to add an episode in. And part of that is because this is a premise that works better with younger characters. Like, let's say this involved the kids, it'd make a little bit more sense for me, but it can kind of work with adults where you just gotta picture it more. I'd say the way they do it does make a little sense. Now let me describe it. The synopsis on IMDb is as simple as it gets. Robert gets discovered by a modeling agent. What happens is that he and Amy are out picking up Chinese takeout, and he gets quote-unquote discovered, which of course leads to the obvious jokes that you would expect from the family. And they mention, no, it's a guy who says he works for a modeling agency, and Robert, he said, would be a perfect fit. Which makes a lot of logical sense, because there's been a lot of episodes where they've touched on the fact that Robert, of the two Barone boys, is the one that is more classically handsome, as his mother put it, like Valentino. So it would make sense eventually somebody would see him and go, hey, have you ever decided to do like shots and all that? Now, you'd think this would have happened when he was younger, but nope. Happens now. Of course, Robert goes in, and being the Robert that we know and love, he is very, very nervous. Like the way he is nervous when he's in the waiting room and he's the most dressed up person in a full suit, whereas everyone else is like in business casual or worse attire. That adds a little bit to it because he's all overthinking it. The way we all know Robert loves to overthink things. Now, eventually he gets brought in there. He talks with the guy, makes small talk. And of course the guy does the obvious jokes you would expect here, like, yeah, usually when we find people of your height and all that, it's usually more like circus freaks. And things look like they're gonna go up, or as borrow a phrase from another sitcom, looks like everything's coming up Millhouse. But you all know there has to be a but in here somewhere. There's got to be a caveat in here to throw a monkey wrench into this situation, and that is that this turns into what you would expect whenever they throw something like this into a show. That is that the modeling agency was fraudulent. They did not exist. It was a front. Because when Robert and Ray go to go get the photos, the building that they were in is gone. And it turns out Robert had already given them money, so they defrauded him out of money, and more likely they defrauded a bunch of other poor suckers out of money. So what are they going to do? Well, obviously they can't tell everybody because they're going to get the told you shows from the parents. Everyone else is going to be overblown, and more than likely Amy's going to be like, how much did you give them? And then we'll find out, and it's like, oh great, you give them that much money? Wow. So they decide to fake the photos. And when they're faking the photos, that's pretty fun because it's like they think like, oh yeah, that's a good angle, that's a good angle. Now, as someone who has done cosplay photo shoots and has actually also taken cosplay photos, it takes a while for you to get a feel for what angles and all that. But the harder part is more the lighting, the lenses, and then like throwing on the filters for the different lighting in post. That is really what makes and break the photos. And I'm gonna guess, since Robert and Ray have no knowledge of that, that's what leads to the follow-up when they show everyone the photos and everyone's like, really? These are the photos? These are the professional photos? And of course Ray, since he's the one that took the photos, takes umbrage to it. And it goes from there. Now, it's an okay episode. It's just one that I'm like, you get a couple chuckles out of me, but it's like, yeah, with these characters, this is just not the type of plot I would want to watch. And like I said earlier, it makes sense for younger characters. Like, let's say if this involved Allie, or the twins getting discovered by modeling agencies, I think it would fit a bit more. Especially if Ray is like, alright, he goes in there and being his old nonchalant Ray way, doesn't realize that, oh, this is what's happening. And then it goes from there, and then of course gets overblown, and Deborah finds out and she gets a little mad. And then of course the parents find out and the humor just builds from there. Or of course it fits better in a sitcom or show focused more on younger characters, such as All Grown Up, which there's an episode with a similar premise. But here, with these adult characters, it just doesn't grab me. So this just basically is a filler episode. So like I said at the top, this one's staying on the skip list. Unless I'm going to do a marathon watch, and even then I might just skip it from now on, because it doesn't do much for me. And if you like this episode, I really want to hear in the comments section, but I'm going to preference it. Remember, I've been open-minded with a lot of these episodes. There were some earlier on that didn't really grab me, like Fascinating Deborah, but then watching it with the adult lens, I'm like, okay, I like this one a bit more. So it's just still my taste and all that. Now, the next episode, we're going to get back into me watching it when it first came out, and it's going to be the final two that I can say that for, because once we get into season 9, all DVD watches. Of course, the next one is one that when I was remembering this season before I got the DVD, I thought it was earlier in the season run. I didn't realize it was so late in the show. But of course, I guess that's what happens when you don't watch a lot of the season in first run. You kind of get a little jumbled. But it adds a little. It's going to add a little bit of an interesting backstory lore to Frank, and we get to see a side of him we never really see that much, and that is because he gets a visitor from his past when he worked the Pelt accounting. Till next time, everybody.